Elon Musk quietly slipped out of his office, unnoticed. The relentless flood of emails, back-to-back meetings, and never-ending deadlines had drained him. He needed a break, a moment away from the world where he wasn't Elon Musk, the billionaire, the inventor, or the face of technological revolution. Just for tonight, he wanted to be a man among men, walking through the world like anyone else. No security, no assistance, no schedule. Just him and the streets of New Orleans at night. He wandered aimlessly through the city, his footsteps blending into the rhythm of the night. The wail of a saxophone drifted from a street corner, weaving into the hum of passing cars and the murmur of late-night wanderers. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't the center of attention. He wasn't the subject of curious stares, whispered conversations, or phone cameras snapping in his direction. He was invisible, just another figure in the crowd. Then, as he turned down a quieter street near the French Quarter, something caught his eye. A young black girl, no older than 13, sat huddled on the steps of a closed storefront. The glow of a nearby street lamp stretched her shadow long across the sidewalk. Her frayed hoodie clung to her small frame, her faded jeans slightly oversized. Her sneakers were falling apart, as if they'd carried her through too many miles. Her curly hair was hastily tied back, a few loose strands escaping and falling across her cheek. In front of her sat a small cardboard box filled with flowers, roses, daisies and sunflowers, each carefully bundled and tied together with thin, rustic twine that gave them a simple yet elegant charm. Beside the box was a handwritten sign, its letters uneven but clear. "Help me go to school. Flowers, $3 each." Elon stopped. She didn't notice him. Her eyes scanned the passing crowd, hopeful, searching, waiting for someone to stop. But no one did. Men in pressed suits hurried by. Women in high heels clicked past without a glance. The city churned forward, indifferent. Elon felt something stir inside him. Not pity, but recognition. There was something about her, not desperation, but resilience. He stepped forward, crouching down beside her, his voice calm and measured. "Hey there." She flinched slightly, startled. Her wide, cautious eyes flickered up to meet his. "Are you here to buy flowers?" she asked immediately, her voice a little hoarse, as if she had spoken too much to people who never listened. Elon smiled. "Maybe. But first, I'd like to know your name." She blinked at him, hesitating for a moment before answering. "Ava." Elon nodded, his gaze drifting toward the flowers. "Why are you selling these? Shouldn't you be in school?" Ava dropped her gaze, her fingers tracing the edges of the twine bows. "My mom can't afford my school fees," she admitted, her voice steady, as if she had long accepted this reality. "She works all day, but it's not enough. I don't want to just sit around waiting for things to change." There was no pleading in her tone, no trace of self-pity, just the quiet resolve of someone who had already decided to fight for what she wanted. Elon studied her carefully. "And if you could go back to school, what would you want to do?" For the first time, something flickered in Ava's expression, a light, a spark she had tried to bury. "I want to be an engineer," she said, her voice growing stronger. "I want to build things that help people. People like my mom. People like me. Elon felt a pang of familiarity. A child with dreams too big for the world she was born into. He let the silence stretch between them. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. "Well, Ava, let's see if we can make that dream happen." Ava stared at him, wary, as if trying to gauge whether or not he was serious. "Are you actually going to buy flowers?" she asked cautiously, her voice quieter this time. Elon chuckled. "Maybe. But first I'd like to know more about you." Ava hesitated, glancing around as if afraid someone might step in and shatter this moment. "I sell flowers here every night," she finally said, her voice softer now. "My mom cleans houses all day, but we barely make enough for food and rent." She paused, her voice lowering. "I had to drop out of school. I started selling flowers so I could save up and go back someday. Elon nodded, his expression unreadable. And people, do they stop to buy from you? Ava shrugged, a hint of exhaustion in her movement. Sometimes, she exhaled. Some say the flowers are pretty, but they don't really need them. Most don't even look at me. Elon glanced at the sign beside her. Help me go to school. The message was simple, handwritten, slightly crooked, but it told her whole story. How much have you saved so far? He asked. Ava bit her lip, looking away for a second. Not much, she admitted. Maybe $100. School fees are expensive. But I'll keep trying. Elon watched her carefully. He knew this feeling. He had once stood where she stood now, fighting for a dream too big, too impossible. But someone had believed in him once. Ava just needed someone to believe in her. And maybe it was time for someone to step in. Elon Musk watched Ava closely, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. There was something about this girl that reminded him of himself, a child who once carried a dream too big for the world around him. He leaned back slightly, crossing his arms, his gaze fixed on the simple bundles of flowers in front of him. This wasn't just about selling flowers. This was hope. This was survival. This was a dream refusing to be extinguished, no matter how cruel life had been. Elon reached into his pocket, pulling out his wallet. His voice was steady but firm. I'll take all of them. Ava froze. Her eyes widened as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. All of them? But why? What are you going to do with so many flowers? Elon smiled faintly, but there was no hesitation in his voice, no room for doubt. I'll find a use for them, he said, then paused, his expression softening. But more importantly, I want to help you achieve your dream, and I think we can make that happen. Ava felt a strange wave rush through her, a feeling almost like belief, but too fragile for her to fully grasp just yet. Are you joking? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if saying it too loudly might shatter the moment. Elon shook his head slightly. I never say anything I don't intend to follow through on. He looked her straight in the eyes. But only under one condition. Ava swallowed hard. Something flickered in her chest, an unnamed fear that whatever condition he was about to set might be something she wasn't capable of fulfilling. What condition? She asked quietly. Elon smiled, but his voice carried the weight of something immovable, solid as stone. Never give up on your dream. Ava bit her lip, her eyes glistening with a storm of emotions she didn't quite know how to process. No one had ever said that to her before. No one had ever believed in her before. She took a deep breath, then slowly, firmly, nodded. I promise. Elon extended his hand, and Ava, hesitating only for a moment, gently placed the first bundle of flowers into his palm. And for the first time in a long time, deep in her heart, a flicker of something she thought she had lost sparked back to life hope. The next morning, Elon Musk couldn't stop thinking about Ava. Her story, her resilience, her unwavering determination, and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her dream had left an indelible mark on him. Elon wasn't the kind of person to simply walk away from something like this. He wasn't just an entrepreneur, he was a problem solver. And Ava had a problem, one that could be solved. Sitting in his office, fingers interlaced, his gaze drifted past the towering buildings outside his window. This girl wasn't just a kid with a dream. Ava had real potential. She was someone who could achieve something great, something far beyond what she could even imagine. But to do that, she needed support. She needed a chance. Elon reached for his phone and dialed a number. I need you to take care of something, he said, his voice steady and decisive. There's a girl named Ava. She's been selling flowers on the street to save money for school. I want you to help her. I'll send you the details now. As he ended the call, he knew this wasn't just a small gesture. This was the beginning of something bigger. He had seen that fire before, that unshakable drive, that refusal to be defeated by circumstance. Ava had it. She just needed someone to believe in her. The next morning, just as Ava finished arranging her flowers on the sidewalk, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her. This time, she noticed. Cars passed by her every day, but none of them stopped. This one did. 2 men in sharp suits stepped out, their eyes scanning the street as if looking for someone. One of them, a middle-aged man with a deep, steady voice, spoke first. "Ava?" Ava's grip tightened around the flowers in her hands. Her body tensed. "Yes," she answered cautiously. The second man smiled slightly, his demeanor calm yet certain. "We're here on behalf of Elon Musk. He wants to meet you." Ava's heart skipped a beat. What was this? Some kind of joke? Who would come here for her? Before she could respond, the first man handed her a black folder. "Don't worry, Ava. Everything has already been arranged. Your mother knows. She's agreed to let you come with us. We'll take care of everything." Ava blinked rapidly, struggling to comprehend what was happening. "But why? I don't understand," she stammered. "Just come with us," the man said gently. "You'll understand soon enough." Ava hesitated for only a second before stepping forward, following them to the car. Her heart pounded with a whirlwind of emotions: uncertainty, fear, but above all, an irresistible curiosity. The car's interior was spacious and luxurious, but not extravagant. There was no rush, no tension. It felt as if they were taking her somewhere important, somewhere she had never imagined. After a short drive, the car pulled up in front of a worn-down apartment complex. Ava looked up and swallowed hard. This was home. And Tew. The place she had lived for as long as she could remember. The cracked walls, the peeling paint, the heavy sense of exhaustion that lingered in every corner. It wasn't the worst place. But it was never where she imagined she would stay forever. One of the men spoke again, his voice firm but kind. "Pack your things, Ava." She stiffened. Her fingers clenched into fists at her sides. For the first time, the reality of what was happening hit her. She was leaving. For years, this place had been her world, but now, she wasn't just leaving a home. She was stepping toward a future she had never dared to dream of. The car didn't turn back toward the city. Instead, it veered onto a quiet road, where ancient oak trees swayed under the soft glow of streetlights, their branches stretching over stately homes with grand porches and warm, inviting lights. Ava sat tense in the back seat, hands clenched in the pocket of her hoodie. Her eyes darted across the white columns and golden-lit windows. Where are we? She wondered, her heartbeat quickening with each turn. Finally, the car slowed, pulling onto a long brick-paved driveway, stopping in front of a grand house draped in lush green ivy. Ava's mouth fell open. Her wide eyes locked onto the home before her, blinking rapidly, as if she might be dreaming. No way. It looked like something out of a dream. A perfectly manicured lawn. Huge windows reflecting the warm glow from inside. Space, so much space that for the first time, she felt small in the best way possible. "This is your new home, Ava." The man in the front seat turned around, his voice calm but filled with meaning. Ava couldn't find the words. She blinked, over and over, as if closing her eyes long enough might make it disappear. "My home," she whispered. The man nodded, stepping out and holding the door open for her. "Elon Musk arranged everything. Your mother is already inside. And from now on, neither of you have to worry anymore." Ava's feet felt like they were glued to the floor. Part of her wanted to believe it. The other part was terrified that if she let herself believe, this dream would dissolve into nothing. She swallowed hard, stepping onto the gravel driveway. The small stones crunched beneath her feet, grounding her in the moment. Then, the front door swung open. "Ava." Her mother's voice unsteady, but filled with emotion. Ava spun around, and there she was, her mother, standing in the doorway, eyes red but smiling in a way Ava hadn't seen in a very long time. A lump formed in Ava's throat. This couldn't be real. But if it was a dream? She never wanted to wake up. The next morning, another miracle unfolded. Elon Musk hadn't just found her a home. He had arranged for her to attend one of the best schools in New Orleans, a prestigious private institution with state-of-the-art classrooms, sprawling campuses, and dedicated teachers she had never dared to imagine learning from. As she stepped through the massive school gates, everything still felt surreal. A woman from Elon's team walked beside her, her voice steady yet kind. "All tuition has been covered. Your books and supplies are ready. You just need to focus on learning." Ava lifted her gaze to the towering school building in front of her, gripping the straps of her brand new backpack. "I never thought I'd go to a place like this," she admitted softly. The woman smiled, placing a reassuring hand on Ava's shoulder. "You don't have to dream about it anymore," she said. "Now, you just have to live it." Ava took a deep breath and stepped through the wide doors. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a child left behind. Weeks passed, and slowly, Ava and her mother settled into their new reality. They had a safe home. They no longer had to worry about rent or their next meal. For the first time, Ava could focus entirely on her future without the weight of survival pulling her back. But one night, something unexpected happened. A silver car pulled up in front of the house. This time, it wasn't someone from Elon Musk's team stepping out. It was him. Ava froze in the doorway, her heartbeat quickening. Her mother wiped her hands on her apron, stepping forward, looking just as surprised. Elon gave a small smile, his voice deep and warm. "May I come in?" They could hardly believe it. Elon Musk was standing right in front of them. When the three of them sat down in the living room, Ava tried to steady herself, but her fingers still gripped the hem of her shirt. Elon looked at them both, his expression softening. "How are you two doing?" he asked. Ava's mother smiled through tears that had already begun streaming down her cheeks. I don't even know what to say." She exhaled shakily. "This is more than anything I ever dared to dream of. We never thought something like this could happen." Elon gave a small nod, his eyes never leaving Ava. "Sometimes all we need is for somebody to believe in us," he said gently. "And I believe in you, Ava." Ava clenched her fists, a wave of warmth washing over her. No one had ever believed in her like this. No one. She looked up at Elon, her voice small but steady. "I promise, I won't waste this opportunity. I'll work hard. I'll become the engineer I've always wanted to be." Elon smiled a warm, confident smile. "I know you will, Ava. Just keep moving forward and never forget. Dreams can become reality, no matter how impossible they seem." From that day forward, Ava was no longer the girl sitting on the sidewalk selling flowers. She became a top student, pushing herself through every challenge. She worked harder than ever, and in the end, she earned scholarships to some of the best universities in the country. Years later, as Ava stood on stage, receiving her engineering degree, she thought back to that night. The night one person believed in her. It wasn't just about a new home or a chance to go to school. It was about believing that she could make a difference. That no matter where she came from, as long as she had the will to fight for her dream, she had a chance to make it real. Ava knew now kindness had power, and so did the human spirit. If this story has touched your heart, we'd love for you to share its message by liking and sharing it with your friends, helping us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which means the world to us and allows us to create more meaningful stories for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts about the story and let us know which city you're watching from. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in our next story.